I was looking to find something for my then 2-year-old to show him how all of us adults around him were feeling after we lost my niece, Tamar, to suicide.
Welcome to Life Untangled. I'm Professor Jane Burns, and in each episode we speak to people from all walks of life about their passions, the messiness of life, and what they're doing to make the world a better place.
You're listening to another Torched original. Are you feeling stuck when it comes to creating content for you and your business? Would you like a podcast of your very own? Or maybe you'd like to stand out and reach new audiences? Head to gettorched.com. That's GETTORCHT.com today, and we look forward to helping you on your content creation journey. And now, enjoy the show.
Rochelle Rich from Emotions. Welcome to Life Untangled. I'm super excited to be chatting to you today.
Thank you, Jane.
It's great to have you with us. Thanks. So what does an average Joe Blow day look like for you?
An average Joe Blow day. I wish I had average days.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
But variety is the spice of life, hey? And I'm lucky in the sense that I get to do a lot of things that I enjoy, and I make a real effort to do that. My week is often split up into two parts. There's the part where I take care of my son, because we've got a shared parenting arrangement where I have him for half the week and his father has him for the other half. Today, as an example for you, we were up way too early. He gets up at 5:45, 6 o'clock. But we start the day on the right footing because he wakes up and he is alive and kicking.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration, really. And we do things like we make breakfast together. We feed the dog, we organise the house and get out of the house and take the dog for a walk, and I drop him off at kinder and then start the work day.
Nice. And what's the work day look like?
The work day involves working out what needs to be done that day, because every day has its own challenges and every day has its priorities. It can often be just as simple as writing a list of what to do that day and ticking it off. And also getting out there and going for another walk perhaps, or making my way to the gym just to balance because of the intensity of what needs to be done.
Now, Emotion's your second business, right? So your first business, how did it come about? Because I remember when I Googled you, because that's what you do, 30 under 30, obviously an incredible entrepreneur, and you've exited out of that first business. What was it? How did it start?
So Emotions is an online business, and so was the first one. The first one was in finance and online lending. It was a business that was set up to make it easy for people to get loans and automate everything around it. And a lot of the learnings from that first business in lending have come through to Emotions. I set that up very early in my life with some really good guidance, and it started when I was 18. And then by the time I was 24, it really flourished into it ran without me.
Which is incredible. So as an 18-year-old, you had this seed of an idea. You put obviously all the building blocks in place, and then
through a lot of pain and error, I have to say.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Luck. Yeah. I went to university. I studied a Bachelor of Commerce between, say, 18 and 21, 22. And so I, again, had more of that guidance around the academic side and how to take a business online when everyone was going online for the first time.
Yep. So let's have a chat. What excites you about your work? So what is it that gets you, you're up at 5 a.m, You've got a little boy. I remember those days. I remember those days well. Thank God mine are now teenagers and all they want to do is stay in bed.
Yeah.
But I do remember that well. Yeah. So what excites you about your work?
So what really excites me is I'm in a position now that I was looking for so long. I've worked out what my skills are. My skills are the business entrepreneurship, and I can align them with my passion. My passion being the mental health space and trying to make some positive change in that. And so it excites me that I've found that and I can work on that every day.
Yeah. Now, I know this is going to be a hard question, but I know you've talked about this quite a bit, and Emotions came out of what was an absolutely tragic and devastating personal experience. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, look, I'm here for connection. I'm here to talk to people so they know that life can happen and we can also keep going. And I'll also add that if anything that I say hurts you or someone around you, that there are people like Lifeline available that you can call, and their phone number is 131114. And you touched on how emotions came about, and it all started with an emotions chart. I was looking to find something for my then 2-year-old to show him how all of us adults around him were feeling after we lost my niece, Tamar, to suicide. And she was 27 at the time. I was 32. We grew up together. We were only 5 years apart. We were the little kids running around. And my 2-year-old couldn't quite grasp, sometimes I was happy, sometimes I was sad, sometimes I was disappointed, sometimes I was angry. And it wasn't just me, it was all the people in his network. So I couldn't find the emotions chart I wanted. I went online, found a freelancer. She drew up some cute characters, and that was version 1. And when it went in the bathroom, it was nice to see it there. Moved it into his bedroom. Again, good, but very hidden away. And just happened to be 2020, the great toilet paper rush of 2020 that we all look.
We should not laugh at that. That's so not funny.
Yeah, but the things that the ideas came together. We need this emotions chart. There's a need, like in every commercial sense. It's hidden away. Let's put it out in the open. Toilet paper. Let's wrap the toilet paper in it. Put it out into the world, and that was how it all began.
So from great tragedy has come this passion to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah.
Who are your partners?
So the 3 partner charities are Beyond Blue, Lifeline and the Black Dog Institute, and they were all chosen for very specific purposes. Beyond Blue, as we all know, they're the biggest and furthest, widest reaching in Australia. Yep. Everybody knows their name, and everyone knows that they've got call centres. They've got website, apps, even just looking at their logo is a reminder of, how are you feeling? So they've got the biggest penetration that we need right now. The Black Dog Institute are fantastic in their ability to research, use scientific data, make decisions based on that. They're getting those even apps out into workplaces through the government. They are the data-driven decisioning that I value so much as a person, and see the structure and growth and development of mental health going down data-driven results. And then there's Lifeline. Now, Lifeline is very specifically chosen because if someone's feeling vulnerable, they may be that last point of contact and they can turn it around. They're very skilled. Someone needs someone to call late at night, and they're available always.
And they are good choices. I know when I set up the Young and Well Cooperative Research Centre back in 2010, which seems ridiculous to say, we were looking at technologies and the way technology could change the way in which we supported young people in prevention. So how do you keep people mentally fit, healthy and well? But if they need care, how do you get them into care earlier?
Yep.
And what does that high quality treatment look like? And so Beyond Blue, Lifeline and Black Dog were critical partners in that, along with the mental health sector. And I think, again, just reflecting on some of the challenges that you've seen and certainly your niece's experience, the system is pretty broken, isn't it?
Look, I'm very disheartened by the system. You've touched on there's the prevention side, which honestly is about 80% of the problem, and then there's the clinical support. So it's like, in my opinion, it's like someone gets a cold. You can help them through the cold so it doesn't become pneumonia, or you can look at all the reasons why they might have gotten the cold to begin with and stop it there. There are always going to be people who get pneumonia anyway, so you want to make sure that they're cared for with the highest quality care. And right now, as human beings, we've advanced so far in physical health, so far. Yep. We are solving amazing problems that people used to die from, and that just recently we've got the answers. But for some reason, whatever it is, mental health hasn't been addressed in the same way, and that's why my focus is getting them the funding and getting a community together to drive that change.
And you're to be commended on that. That's fabulous. Again, putting your hat on, your commercial hat, what is it going to take to get emotions up, running? Yeah. What does it look like for you? Tell us how have you set it up for success?
It's very inspiring. I have to say, I'm amazed at how Emotions is flourishing. Let's start with, it's a startup. It's the beginning days. It's got the early adopters, the customers who are buying it, and they're happy. They love the product. They love the quality. But more importantly, they're sending emails every day or doing Google reviews saying that they're so happy that they're showing their support for mental health. They've either been impacted by it themselves, or they've got a loved one who's been impacted by any mental health issues, or they've just been like all of us, working through this pandemic and seeing the devastation. So that there's that early proof of concept, and then there's the larger organisations who are now starting to come to the table, especially now that we've started some production here in manufacturing here in Melbourne. And so the foundations were to first test that we can create a community, tick. Test that we've got a product that the market likes, tick. See if we can actually get that product interest from the big organisations. And then it's just a matter of, my real mission is to get these products into every household and every workplace, because yes, they've got these little emotions, cute characters on them that help people sit down and go, you know what, I'm not feeling disappointed right now. I'm feeling X.
Yeah.
More importantly, in every house and in every workplace, it'll also have the logos of the charities that they may need to reach out to in a moment when they're not thinking about it. And if we can get it into every house and every workplace, mission accomplished, because someone is anyway buying toilet paper, someone's anyway buying tissues. Let's just redirect what they're paying to channel the profits.
I love it. Now, I have a child who has quite a severe disability, so there's another aspect to Emotions that I also think is fabulous, and I'm particularly passionate about that, and that's employment for people who live with either a psychosocial disability, a mental illness, and they really, can't work, or an intellectual disability. And so you've started with that process as well. I mean, it's early days, but what does that look like for you? Because I think that to me is, the cause is amazing.
Yeah.
You've got manufacturing happening in Melbourne, so it's creating jobs around, manufacturing.
Yeah.
There's distribution, which again creates jobs, but we also want to actually think about, how do we get those who are most vulnerable, who often don't and can't work, how do we actually give them opportunities to have meaning and purpose?
Oh, because everyone needs meaning and purpose. There's no doubt about it. And that's something that beautifully opened up. And Emotions is a values-driven business. So we've already discussed mental health. We've discussed the sustainability. We've touched on it on the eco-friendly side, because, we've got to protect our planet to protect ourselves. The manufacturing in Melbourne has now opened up this inclusive workforce ability. Whether someone has a physical disability, whether they are neurodivergent, because we all kind of are, if you really think about it, everyone's on a spectrum one way or another. Some people more severely, some people not, but everyone has the right to work and everyone can be placed based on their skills. It's just, there's no reason if someone wants to work that they can't. And we just have to create the opportunities. Now, one of the things as a startup that we've done is we've gone into a shared warehouse situation. We've got the machinery to make the toilet paper here. We've got the people power, and we've now been able to bring on someone in the warehouse who can help out with the quality control. And she's been on long-term unemployment because of a physical disability. But inclusivity in the workforce for me doesn't even stop there. It's more about things that we're already doing, hiring people with different nationality backgrounds, religious backgrounds. Everyone works together as a team, because at the end of the day, data again shows that when you've got decision makers from different backgrounds, you're getting, say, investors over the line with a 25% increase in their return, because so many minds who have experienced so many things are working together. So, yeah.
Now, you've talked about a number of different challenges. You've had the personal terrible tragedy of losing Tamir.
Yeah.
You've been a founder and an entrepreneur, starting first business, now second. What was your biggest challenge and how have you dealt with it?
All right. Well, I've had so many challenges, and Tamara wasn't the first one that I've encountered, and her passing, but she, without a doubt, sits on my mind every single day. But, I have, like you said, I know business stress. I know the sleepless nights and the feeling in your stomach, like, how is it going to go on? I've brought up a baby. I had postnatal depression. I didn't see that one coming nearly as forcefully as it turned up. But, I needed the support at that time, and I was lucky. I had the support and it carried me through. But I think what the message that I'd like to share with people is everyone experiences some form of very difficult situation. Many people may experience it in childhood and adolescence and early 20s and again in their mid-years. And life just continues to throw these curveballs. No one saw some people might have seen the pandemic coming, but we're all experiencing these things.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you've touched, I think, absolutely right. Scratch the surface, and there's something. Everyone experiences something, and then we had the pandemic, and so Melbourne was challenged. 265 days in lockdown, like that's unbelievable. Really, looking back and thinking about it, you're like, how on earth?
Yeah, children didn't go to school.
Yep.
All the social expenses that came from that. Yeah.
And it's interesting because there were some great things about people really needing to connect and finding different ways of connecting. And, I know with myself, Harry and I, my now 12-year-old, would go for a bike ride every day.
Yeah.
We'd get out and go for walks. So we'd cook together.
Yeah.
There were lots of amazing things that cocooned you in your own environment. But it was also a horribly terrible, challenging time for people who were lonely or who were isolated or who just couldn't cope with the stresses of what was going on globally but also locally. And so we see this now horrendous knock-on effect of increased anxiety levels, mental health challenges, financial distress. Like it's not getting better. It's actually...
And it was expected to get worse too because people can be strong and they can be strong for a long time, but then eventually all of the feelings come out.
So... with that in mind, we want to give people hope, right? And that's the whole. Well, we don't want to be doom and gloom, but we've also got to acknowledge that this has been.
It's hard.
It's a tough gig, and people lost businesses
that were doing very well before.
Exactly. Yeah. So how do we? I think everyone's now looking at it, and we've had the Great Resignation, like across the world. People are looking for new jobs and. Workplaces are now super, super, super stretched. So there's not enough teachers, there's not enough healthcare workers, there's not enough hospitality workers. It's like, where's everyone gone? But you're sort of looking at it and you're going, how do we not make the same mistakes that we've been making? Like, how do you create the circuit breaker? What does that look like in this world, this new world that we need to and think about and what we do to reimagine it?
Flexibility, gentle care, accepting people for their limitations. They're just some of my ideas.
Yep.
Honestly, at the end of the day, everyone's got their own perspective. Something that I seem to have gathered over time is if you can accept someone for who they are on that day, because everyone's constantly changing and has different levels of tolerance, things run more smoothly.
It's good advice. So do you do that? How do you live your best life?
How do I live my best life? Well, I think a lot of the key to your best life is in relationships. Relationships with your partner, your children, friends, parents, that sort of thing. And that's where I like to try and sit most of the day. But it's a very individual question. So if I really pull it back into myself, I like to be close to the water, the beach, the sea, the river. I make an effort to constantly be close and to defrag.
It's a good word, that defrag.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You just go and...
yeah, because we all get so wound up.
Yeah. We're on 24/7.
Yeah, even just having our phone constantly. Like I was looking at my phone before and it sent me another notification that I just didn't need.
Yeah.
It made me look at it. And
you can turn them off.
Yeah, and that's just another thing to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's in this busy world that we live in, I try and make sure that I've gone for at least one walk a day, which my dog is great at. I've had a good conversation or some good interaction, which, that was really missing in the lockdowns. I try and eat healthy. That's a really big one. And if I haven't eaten healthy, I feel it.
Yep.
And sleep. So they're like the basics of...
the building blocks of well-being.
What's it called? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Just sort out that first level, please, always.
And that's it's great to hear you say that because it's not rocket science. It's the baby things. It's the little things. It's the little things. And sometimes it can just feel so overwhelming. And it's working out what's my tiny thing that I can achieve today, even if it is as much as getting up and just going outside and feeling the sunshine.
Honestly, if you can do one positive thing a day, whether you want to or not, you've made it through the day.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about mental health and how we look after our mental health and our well-being, which is very different to someone who's living with and experiencing a mental illness. And again, you've talked about Lifeline and Beyond Blue and Black Dog, and what we're trying to do is create this conversation about prevention. So at the moment, 1% of the budget gets spent on prevention.
Well, that's ridiculous when it's 80% of the problem. But yeah.
Correct. So we're trying to shift the dial and say we actually need that treatment to be the highest quality it possibly can be, which is super important. But we also need to think about how do we keep people mentally fit, healthy and well, so that our solution is not just to say go and speak to your GP and go and get some clinical care, because we know our health professionals are just under extreme duress.
Yeah.
So the prevention message is critical.
Yeah.
And how do we get people thinking about that? How do we actually change the dial? I know, the toilet paper is one thing. That's a conversation about your emotions. And we had the wonderful Jodie Richardson on earlier. She's an expert in anxiety, and she talked about naming emotions and how important that is. So you've taken her science and put it onto a toilet roll.
Yep. And it all came from the postnatal depression that I experienced. I couldn't put words to how I was feeling.
Yep.
And because I couldn't put words, I couldn't actually get the help that I needed. And then and it's only the beginning. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist and I'm not by any means someone who can make change in psychology. But what I can say is when you can start naming how you're feeling, you can find the right resources. And so, exactly right.
Yeah. So love that, because we've got the scientist in Jodie who's got the evidence to say this is what it looks like, and you're the practical entrepreneur, commercial model. When you think about, so we talk about reaching out for support and help and care, and we've talked a lot with some of the previous guests about the stoicism of Aussies and how we don't like to put our hand up for help, and even when we do put our hand up for help, there's the come on, you'll be fine, or pull your socks up, or who do you're from a big family. Yeah. Who do you reach out to? How do you express what's going on for you? Your example of postnatal depression, when you couldn't name it, what do you do with that? How do we get better at listening? How do we get better at supporting? How do we get better at making those connections that would actually make a real difference in someone's life?
Okay, so
this is a hard question.
It's a good question though, and it's listening was the key. That's what you said, and you don't even have to have a process around listening, because you just listen. You don't have to add any words around it, and just say, yes, this is hard, or I'm here for you, because we are all programmed to try and fix things. So don't worry too much if you get into that, but it's good to say, actually, do you want me here to just listen? Because I think this is good that you're talking. So yes, the first part is that. But if you're someone like me, I like to put words to a situation. I like to try and fix it. There are guides for that. And Beyond Blue, Lifeline, Black Dog Institute, you can do a Google search and all three of them address how to answer or how to talk to someone who is almost, they're so deep in their pain that you're scared to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think ensuring that people access those resources, read those resources, it takes energy and effort, and we're all busy. I think we come back to that busyness of life. And so really taking the time to actually get yourself educated, and you're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be overly complex. You don't need to be afraid of the conversation, and sometimes it is just, and I remember in the early days when I did the startup at Beyond Blue back in 2000, so it was as simple as just going and sitting and just being with someone.
And the Are You OK group, they've done a great job of it. They've just said, are you okay, is all you need to say.
But then we need to get better at saying, no, I'm not. And if you say, no, I'm not, then what next? So I think the example of the resources, really simple questions and then simple solutions become so critical.
And a follow-up call. So, now a lot of people reach out to me and they say, you know, I'm not feeling great. And I say to them, I had one phone conversation with someone, and we're like, I'm so glad you told me that, because today I don't feel like I'm my best self either. You know, and that's it. But then the next day, hey, how you going?
Yeah. And we are human, aren't we? So we're not going to be perfect, shiny, happy, wonderful.
Impossible.
Every day.
Yep.
It's an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah. And it's not even so much the expectation as much anymore, because we've all now collectively gone through this pandemic and realised that some people are struggling a little bit more, and it's an open discussion.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know pre-pandemic, you know, Beyond Blue have been doing stigma reduction forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's been forever, you know, 22
years in.
22 years, man. And while people are much more aware of and much more open to the conversations, it doesn't necessarily translate across into help seeking. And I think the silver lining in the cloud that is the pandemic has been that people are prepared to be far more open, far more vulnerable, really, really looking at reaching out and having those conversations and saying, actually, no, I'm feeling like I should be feeling bad because I've been in lockdown for 265 days. So you kind of go, it's sort of normalised emotion.
So the good thing is people are starting to talk about it. The not so good thing is the resources unavailable. So, for example, you know, seeing a psychologist or going to the GP, when they tell you you've got a 3 to 6 month wait list and yesterday you weren't coping and it's another
catastrophic
day,
like
you're on your own. And that's why I like Lifeline, all these apps that are available, because at least you can have a chat with someone. It can be on the phone, it can be through SMS, it can be on a chat on your computer. At least someone can say one golden nugget that will start the healing process.
Yeah, and it's important. And one of my other organisations that I love, Together AI, is really about right conversations, right time.
I wish they were available when I was a teenager.
When you were a teenager.
I didn't want to talk to our parents.
No, of course not. Parents are, no way. That's and that's we know that. You know, I trained in adolescent psychology.
Yeah.
We know that as our children become teenagers, adolescents, there's that search for autonomy. Thank God mine haven't hit it yet. So Holly still loves catching up with mum, and we met in the city. But, you know, Harry now, he's like, you know, I almost have to teach him how to have that conversation, and it's hard for kids because they do, and they're finding their own skin. And so as teenagers, I know I was a super shy, you won't believe it, super shy teenager, but, you know, you're sort of in this weird land between
going through a lot.
Family and reaching out to family, but peer group and then the peer. So it's tough.
So important. And the peers, you hope that they're good peers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's finish up with the legacy. What do you hope is your legacy? If you can look back on your life and think, this is the thing that I did, what would it be?
Oh, well, it's emotions. It's it would be knowing that Tamar didn't die in vain, that now our products are in every household and possibly in every workplace and every public area, and it's a well-known household name, and that people who may be feeling vulnerable can identify how they're feeling, reach out for support, save a few lives, and on top of it, the sales proceeds and 50% of the profits are donated to research ways that we can come out of the dark ages of mental health that we're currently in.
Yeah, thank you. Final question, what are you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? So many things. I'm grateful for Rafi, my 4-year-old.
Yep.
I'm grateful that my parents have supported me and invested in my education. I see education as possibly the most important thing you can give a person. I'm grateful for my life and my dog and my passions and everything that has, you know, painfully brought me here in many senses, but we can turn it around slightly.
Well, I'm grateful that I've met you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see where you take emotions. It's an exciting start. But into the future, let's see.
Yeah.
Want it in every home.
Every home.
Reach out. How do people find you?
Well, our web address is www.emotions.org.au. So not .com, it's .org.au. And that's where you can see our products. And, you know, as the community grows and the business grows, everything can flourish into economies of scale, and we can get it into the whole world, really.
Oh, I like the global domination. That's nice thinking. Now I'm going to finish, because I was finished on that. But you sent a beautiful gift pack to an angel, Brendan.
Yeah.
He loves the product.
Yeah.
Is that how you see your next? How are you going to do your raise? What does it look like? Where are we at with the stage in the company?
The stage is now, I've chosen from a lot of really good advice and a lot of people who have taken a look at emotions in detail, and the recommendation is to go for crowdfunding.
Yep.
Crowdfunding is giving the people who are our customers, our community, our Australian community, eventually global, the opportunity to own a piece of emotions, to have some shares for the putting some money in for its growth. And that's how we're going to raise the money to expand and grow to the next level, and bring all of our customers and members on board, and they are our ambassadors, and they share, as they already are, with their friends and their family, that they love the products, and that's our next phase of expansion, crowdfunding, but really doing it on a community-based level.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish now with a word of wisdom, because I love, and we talk a lot about tribe and community, and it's become a bit cliched, but it is really clear from all the evidence that tribe is such an important part of who we are, and community connection is so critical. And so not only do you have this amazing product that's a B Corp and that's actually going to make a real difference in giving people jobs, but you're actually building a community, a tribe around it. So I'm super excited to be working with you, super excited to be seeing where it goes. I wish you all the very, 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 very best. And thank you for coming on to Life Untangled.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Life Untangled. I'm Professor Jane Burns, chatting all things life, heart and head.
You're listening to another Torched original. Are you feeling stuck when it comes to creating content for you and your business? Would you like a podcast of your very own? Or maybe you'd like to stand out and reach new audiences? Head to gettorched.com. That's GETTORCHT.com today, and we look forward to helping you on your content creation journey.